This week's edition of NJBIA is Minding Your Business is brought to you in part by AT&T, helping family, friends, and neighbors connect in meaningful ways every day. By PSE&G, powering a future where people use less energy that's cleaner, safer, and delivered more reliably than ever. By New Jersey's community colleges, aligning education to build an innovative workforce. Find out how your business can benefit at njpathways.org. And by New Jersey Business Magazine, providing critical information needs for New Jersey's business community for more than 67 years.
Welcome to NJBI's Minding Your Business. I'm Bob Considine. Well, when it comes to energy companies providing business customers with solutions to lower energy costs and help the environment, look no further than PSE&G. And here to discuss their energy efficiency programs is PSE&G Director of Energy Services, Rachael Fredericks. Rachael, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Bob.
It is great to have you here. And how long have you been at PSE&G?
So I've been at the company 12 years and spent a little over 12 years, and I've spent my whole career in clean energy.
Okay.
Before joining PSE&G, I worked in the capacity mostly in New England and helping customers save energy. So it's been really exciting 12 years for me at PSE&G.
Right.
And my area at the company, Clean Energy Solutions, is responsible for delivering the energy efficiency programs to our customers, both residential and commercial customers.
Right. And you've done residential and industry too, like you've done it all, right?
Yeah, so in the
run the gamut.
Over 20 years or so,
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of different companies, mostly in the utility industry and mostly in clean energy, focused on energy efficiency. It's a really exciting time here in New Jersey for us, for PSE&G and the other utilities to help our customers save energy. And I'm really excited to be here today and talk to you about what we can do for business customers.
Well, thanks, Rachel. We're glad you're here too. Let's talk about, before we get into the programs, but why? Why is utility companies like PSE&G have such a focus on this right now?
So for PSE&G, we have a Powering Progress that has a focus on people using less energy, that's cleaner, safer, and delivered more reliably than ever. And so that's a big part of what PSE&G is committed to.
Right.
But also, we have an interest in being that trusted energy advisor to our customer.
Yeah.
So we are very solutions-based in what we're going to provide our customers.
Very good.
Whether you're a multifamily customer, a commercial customer, small business, or a residential customer, low income, we really want to be able to help our customers find solutions that work for them.
Let's just keep it on business customers. Are they coming to you or are you coming to them? How's it work?
It's both,
Okay.
right? So in the last just over 3 years, we've been delivering on our Clean Energy Future 1 set of programs.
Right.
And at the end of 2024, we were approved for another cycle, which allows us to continue those solutions.
Right. Part 2, the sequel.
Part 2, the sequel, which starts in January of this year and will run us through about June, July of 2027.
Right.
And what that allows us to do is to continue the momentum for our customers on some of the solutions that we've been providing, and also include some new and exciting things. So there's, as part of the clean energy transition, there's a focus on electrification,
Right.
which is helping customers electrify their homes and businesses. And then also we're including demand response offerings, which is going to be initially focused for residential customers, but that will help customers shift when they use energy to help them save and address affordability.
Well, that's interesting. Do you find that some of these businesses are they're looking to do it for not only for the economics of it, but for the good of the environment too?
So everybody likes to save $1, right?
Yeah, right.
Or more dollars.
Or more, right.
And everybody likes to feel more comfortable. But I think what is important is we have something for everybody in terms of offerings across our suite of programs.
Right.
And what we hear from the business community is that, of course, it does help to address affordability, whether it's electric, gas, water, right? Those are real costs for operation, right? Yeah. But what we see is when you're changing lighting, when you're optimizing controls, when you're swapping out chillers, it allows the business community to put the dollars in places that really matter.
Right.
So some real examples, right? So you're a hospital, and you're changing your lighting, and now you're creating a better patient environment. And the dollars that you save in doing that, maybe you can invest in a new MRI machine.
Right.
So that's
Right.
big
So you're making
hospital
investments
project.
in equipment, other types of equipment, or
Exactly.
maybe it could be in your workforce too, right? I mean,
Exactly,
yeah.
right. So even an ice cream shop, right? We've worked with Carvel, right? And changing the lighting, making the environment more comfortable for people visiting the store, but
Right.
also the refrigeration controls that we put in, making sure that their product is staying the appropriate temperature,
Right,
right? You're addressing other business needs, right? And then it allows you to sell more of what you need to sell, address your clients differently,
Right.
whatever your business is, whether you're the ice cream shop, the hospital, the
Right.
library,
Right.
university. We really have something for everybody, and I think it is important for folks to understand that when we work with you, we'll help understand and assess what is it that we can help you with. That it's not just plugging you into an offering, but it's addressing what is your business need.
Right, got
Yep.
it. Yeah, if I could just focus on some of the individual efforts you've made on behalf
Sure.
of business. You mentioned the Carvel Ice Cream Place in Pennington.
Yep.
They upgraded 2 rooftop HVAC units through the program, resulting in $10,000 in installation savings and more than $1,600 in annual utility savings.
Yep.
There's a place called Jola Coffee
Yes,
in North
yes, great
Caldwell.
story.
Lighting and HVAC as well.
Yep.
Covering 80% of their project costs. PSE&G did, which is
Right.
tremendous.
Yep.
And I read somewhere, I don't know how the exact details, Anheuser-Busch, you may have helped with some things
We
too.
did, yes, absolutely. So something for everybody,
Right.
whether you're the large commercial customer or small mom and pop.
Well, what I'm thinking about, I just listed beer, coffee, and ice cream.
Right.
You guys should be up for a Nobel Peace Prize for everything right there.
Right, that's a fair point.
I just wanted to ask you, Rachel, about engineered solutions. What is this program exactly?
So engineered solutions, I would say, is for customers who are on the larger side of facility operations and really looking for some help with the full gamut of design and bidding a project
Okay.
and building a pretty substantial upgrade. It's for customers who need that kind of turnkey assistance, right? So in our engineered solutions portfolio, we work with customers like Anheuser-Busch. We work with the hospitals, right, in our service territory.
Kane University, I think.
Kane
you did.
University,
Yeah.
yep, correct.
Yeah, and they had like multiple buildings, right?
They do, right. So the engineered solutions offering allows for us to address sort of that campus-wide approach. But still so again, back to the trusted energy advisor and something for everybody approach that we're working with our customers to provide is that when we meet with our customers, whether you're the Carvel ice cream shop owner or one of our large,
Joel, right?
one of our large customers, we're going to work with you to understand what is your short-term and long-term plan, and how can we help you address energy affordability, and we'll. It might not always be that engineered solutions is the right path for you.
Sure.
Yep.
Do some of these companies, let's say the smaller ones, they probably don't know what their plan is. Do you help them along that?
Yes,
with that?
we can help, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that PSE&G and our Clean Energy Solutions Department in partnership with a customer care organization is, we work to create that long-term relationship with our customers, and again, being that trusted energy advisor, so that if they're coming to us and they're looking for a solution and they don't, to your point, they don't have a plan, we can leverage the lessons learned from some of the customers that might have had a plan, right? And it's not just about changing equipment, right? When a lot of people think about energy efficiency, they think about changing equipment.
Right.
One of the other things that we're offering in this new portfolio is a focus on what we call energy management. And so if you figure you have a facility, let's say you bought an office building 3 years ago, and you've kind of changed how you're operating it. Well, the systems that were in place the HVAC systems don't know how
Right.
you've configured the space, right?
Right.
So as a simple example, we'll help you address how the equipment is operating. And maybe it doesn't need to be replaced, but we're going to help you save energy, use energy wiser by how you operate the equipment, right?
Okay.
So there's focus on that. And that type of energy management program can also help customers with addressing controls. You know, you walk into a room, do the lights turn on, or do you have to use a switch?
Well,
right?
that's what I wanted to ask. You know, sometimes people might be like, well, everything's working.
Right.
Why am I risking stability in my energy system by changing? Is that
Right.
a concern sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, and I think one thing we haven't addressed in this conversation is the cost, right? So investing in energy efficiency, you know, we have all of these programs have incentives, rebates available,
Yeah.
whether it's the quick path of you know, filling out paperwork and getting a check back,
Right.
or it's the longer relationship of, you know, really building a project and designing something from the ground up. We offer on-bill repayment for the customer's
Right.
share.
I was going to ask about that.
Yep, for most of the programs in our portfolio, right? So that really helps our customers find the capital, right?
So can you just explain what on-bill replacement is?
Sure. So on-bill repayment is whatever the customer's share is when we complete the project.
Right.
They're able to put those dollars on their electric or gas bill over a period of time.
Okay.
And we like to be careful, it's not financing.
Right, right.
But they repay it at 0%,
I
right?
gotcha.
So, and presumably,
Right.
and it's not always the case, but the dollars you're saving on the energy you're not using, because the cheapest energy is the one that you don't use, those dollars that you're saving offsets the on-bill repayment, right? So we're really looking at being able to provide that turnkey solution. So the customer who's not sure what opportunity they have, we help them evaluate the opportunity, we help them decrease the cost of investing in the opportunity through the rebates and incentives, and then with the on-bill repayment, they don't have to go in their own pocket.
That's great.
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I read something like 14,000 PSE&G business customers are now participating in these programs?
Yeah, we're really continuing with the momentum from that first cycle.
Yeah.
Over 400,000 customers have participated in the portfolio. I would say probably more now.
Okay.
And we collectively have saved over $500 million a year on their energy
Wow,
bills. Yep.
tremendous,
Yep.
tremendous.
And with the business customers, you're right. It's been over 14,000.
And if I could just ask a couple more things, Rachel.
Sure.
We're talking different industries too, right? So it could be automotive, it could be grocery, it could be education. There's no, and did you work with the zoo too to help?
We did,
Really?
yes. We help the zoo save energy, and that allows them, you know, back to being able to put dollars into patient care at a hospital.
Right.
You put dollars into helping the animals. So
Right.
that was a couple of years ago, but really fun project.
Right. Well, they do it all, folks. If you want to learn more about this, you're going to go to bizsave.pseng.com. PSE&G doing a great job saving energy and costs for business. Rachael Fredericks, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be back right after these words.
Did you know cleaning and tuning your furnace, burner, boilers, and flues can save you energy and money? Plus, there are rebates for that. Believe it. For more, connect at bizsave.pseg.com, your trusted partner in energy efficiency.
Calm before the storm? No, thank you. This is Jim's time to shine. And Mike's. And Jennifer's. Helmets? Check. Drones? Check. Checking that thing we just checked? Double check. We ain't got time to chill. We're out here driving this thing. This is when we get to work. To keep you connected. No matter what. Connect before the storm. Change how we weather them. Connecting changes everything. AT&T.
Welcome back to NJBIA's Mind Your Business, as we now turn to some updated land use rules proposed by the State Department of Environmental Protection that will have great impacts on New Jersey residents and businesses. And here to talk about it is NJBIA Deputy Chief Government Affairs Officer Ray Cantor. Ray, thanks so much for being back on the show.
Bob, always a pleasure to be here.
It is always good to talk to you. And so these are called, Ray, NJDP's Protecting Against Climate Threats rules, PACT rules, right?
Yes.
Why don't you explain to the folks what it's all about?
Well, it's really a complicated rule. It's 1,057 pages that basically changes, how you get permits from DEP for anything land use you want to do, which includes almost any development anywhere, in the state. The primary part of this rule, though, is DEP's projection of sea level rise and climate impacts and how that's going to impact developments, across the state.
All right. So what are they calling for in this rule? Like, what are they basing the rules on? What climate change factor?
Well, there's no doubt that the climate is changing. There's no doubt that sea levels are rising.
Right.
The question is, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to protect ourselves and our businesses? But we're perfectly for taking into account future projections and making sure that we're prepared, that we're resilient, and that we could, grow our economy with whatever is coming. The problem is DEP is taking an extreme view as to projections on sea level rise. In part, what they're projecting is that in the year 2100, 75 years from now, they're projecting a 5-foot sea level rise.
Okay.
And what they're doing is saying, we think in 75 years from now, at a 17% confidence level, there's going to be a 5-foot sea level rise, and we're going to make you, New Jerseyans, in the year 2025, comply with the standards that, probably aren't going to happen at all, but if they do happen, it's going to be way off into the future, and that's going to have a tremendous impact on what you can build, where you can build, and how much it's going to cost.
Right. So let's talk about that. Like, is it so much that DEP is basically making a map that's going to say, in 75 years, it's going to be 5 foot out, all these areas are going to be underwater, and don't build there, but if you're going to do it, it's going to be very expensive. Is that basically what we're talking about?
That's basically what you're talking about, although, again, it's a lot more complex than that. They're basing everything on an outdated report that came out of Rutgers that, there's been multiple reports afterwards that reject the 5-foot sea level rise projection. No one in the world, by the way, no one in the United States, no other state, no other country is projecting 5-foot sea level rise. Really, the scientists believe that 2 foot is probably realistic, which is what we're advocating for. But once you do that, you basically take the ocean or the bay or the rivers, you increase it by 5 foot, you extend it landward, whatever it hits, that's going to be what they call an inundation risk zone.
Okay.
They're assuming that's going to be flooded continually, and you're going to have to elevate, build differently, and in many instances, if it's open land, you won't be able to build at all because they're only going to allow you 3% impervious cover.
Wow.
So basically, that means on your site, if you have a 10-acre site, you're only allowed to put development pavement on 3% of it. It means no build.
Right.
So it's going to have a tremendous impact on our coastal areas. And it's not just the coast, as I mentioned. It's land adjacent to rivers, to our bays, to streams. So it's going to have a lot of impact in places that people don't even believe these rules will apply to, and it's going to make areas into flood zones that probably will never flood in our lifetimes.
I want to go back to that 3% thing, Ray, is because my understanding is even if you have a foundation, that is impervious cover.
That's impervious cover. Your sidewalk is impervious cover. Your driveway is impervious cover. So it adds up quickly. And again, at 3%, you can't develop. Right. If you have a normal urban area, the way the rules work right now is you're allowed basically 90% impervious cover.
Right.
That's how you build towns and cities, etc. Suburbs get 30% impervious cover. Right. 3% is a farm.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of a block, like you walk on a block on your patio block, basically.
Well, the whole intent, and the rules specifically say they don't want you building in these areas, and they're setting up the rules in such a way as to prohibit, development. And again, even if you're existing there and you're reconstructing your house or you're doing substantial improvements, which could be a new kitchen and bath could make you trigger. Now you're going to have to elevate not just to the existing flood rules. And we all know what those are post-Sandy. You go down to the shore and you see lots of houses up on stilts. Picture that 5 foot additionally. Right. And it doesn't even work on many properties because, when you go up higher, you have to build, ramps or whatever. A lot of properties can't fit those things there.
Yeah.
It's going to impact, seniors. It's going to impact handicapped people. It's going to have impacts that people aren't even talking about. But if these rules become law, then it's going to have a significant impact on New Jerseyans, throughout the state.
That's huge when you talk about people who already live there. Like, I don't know if it has to be something that triggers a DEP permit in order for you to be to live up to these new rules. But would that maybe impact their golden parachute? If they can't sell the home, or it's more challenging to sell the home, that's that could be a folks' main investment, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to be alarmist because no one's going to come and knock on your door and tell you you have to raise your house.
Right.
But there are certain triggers there. If you're rebuilding it, if you're expanding it, if you're putting on a garage in the back, that garage now will have to be, up on stilts, which doesn't even make any sense if you think about that.
You got to build a ramp.
And again, there's also a provision in the rules, and again, we all learned this from Sandy, that if you're doing a substantial improvement on your house, which means the value over 51%, over 50%.
Right.
Again, with older homes, it could just be, a new kitchen and bath. You've hit that monetary level, and now, boom, it triggers in, and you're gonna have to comply with everything, including the additional 5-foot elevations.
Right, I was at the League of Municipalities in November in Atlantic City, and this was a big topic of conversation. I know DEP held a hearing with some of the mayors, and they were not happy about this rule. But I wanted to read some quotes of some of the things the legislature said about it at that event. Senate Republican leader Anthony Bucco said, "I think this is typical of the state, right? We see a problem and we take the most aggressive approach as quickly as possible, instead of taking our time, thinking it out, and phasing it in over time." Bucco added, "We have climate change, we have issues, but we've got to take an educated approach to it, and it's got to be done in a fashion we can afford and is reasonable to our residents." That's on the Republican side. Then Deputy Majority Leader Paul Sarlo also said, on the Democrat side, "A phase-in is the way to go here. Clearly, we need to address flooding, but we just don't have the ability to pay for it all in one shot." So I'm hearing mayors, I'm hearing legislators, but is it just the case that DEP is the only one that really wants this to happen?
I haven't read all the comments they've gotten, on the rule. But, but right, in all the conversations I'm having with elected officials, with other industries, with citizens, when I go out and I talk to the assessors group, when I talk to local chambers of commerce, everyone is alarmed of how this is going to impact them. So again, it's a really complicated rule, and we're only focusing on the sea level rise aspect of it. Again, it's a 1,057-page rule, and I like to say that nothing DEP does in 1,000+ pages is going to be good for the economy and good for the people. There are aspects of this rule that's going to impact urban redevelopment.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
There are going to be aspects in here that are going to prohibit developments in areas that you think are perfect for housing, for affordable housing, which is a major conversation and topic right now. It's a lot of those plans are going to be thwarted because of the unintended consequences of this extreme rule.
Right. You just did an op-ed last week in the Bergen Record, and you explained that Jersey City, Asbury Park, Atlantic City, and Camden are obligated to provide more than 6,000 units of affordable housing. If you have this IRZ, and just in these 4 areas, which are river-based or ocean-based, it seemed it would be much more challenging to find the property to meet these goals. And these are Governor Murphy's goals.
Right, and you're not supposed to be building affordable housing in flood zones. And we've been focusing on the IRZ, which has the most extreme aspect, but there's another flood zone that they're creating as well. So the IRZ is, the part that is the 5 foot, again, extended inward, that part closest to the water body.
Right.
But they're also adjusting the existing flood elevations. and they're calling it the Climate Adjusted Flood Elevation, or CAFE.
CAFE, right.
So, you know, if
Sounds great.
So if you're far away from the water right now, but you still may be subject to flooding in the 100-year flood, you're now going to have to elevate those areas up additional 5 foot, extend that even further. So you could be significantly far from the water. You've never flooded. You can't even see the water, and you're now going to be in the flood zone. It's going to eliminate affordable housing in those areas. You may have to buy flood insurance. So there's going to be a lot of consequences that, again, the rules don't contemplate, the rules summary doesn't address, but it's going to impact, you know, ordinary people and businesses.
Right, and maybe you can elaborate more on this, Ray. You've also said the rule would make New Jersey less affordable, but also less equitable. So is that what you were talking about in terms of like urban development?
Well, absolutely. So, you know, and it's not just, you know, urban development. So, you know, if we want to build affordable housing, if we want our urban areas to redevelop, we need rules in place that allow those things to happen. These rules go in the exact opposite way, and the impacted people are often going to be lower income people who can't afford to buy the mansion, you know, in along, you know, the ocean front and elevated, you know, to the extent that DEP wants to elevate it. Right. If you're rich, these rules aren't going to impact you much. A little bit more money.
Yeah.
If you don't have a lot of money, it's going to really impact you. And what I'm really concerned about, there are a lot of small little cottages down the shore, you know, who don't have, they have postage lots, you
little
know,
bungalows.
They can't afford to elevate. They can't practically, physically fit new stairs, you know, onto their properties. Right. And a lot of those people who've had homes in their families, probably for generations at this point, this is their summer living. This is their culture. This is their life. These people are going to be really disproportionately impacted. And no one's really talking about them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I drove through South Seaside Park recently, and there is one home that is elevating, not to the extent that we're talking about here, but definitely higher. And it's being built next to these bungalows, and it looks just really odd. I mean, this is one house, and the other one's down here. And if you live next door to this thing, you're like this, literally. I mean, you're looking at a skyscraper.
And just picture that even 5 foot higher,
right,
which is what these rules will require.
Right.
And eventually, you know, all those other houses, you know, those houses, the buildings themselves aren't that expensive. It's the land that's more expensive.
Right.
You know, if they put in a new kitchen, because gosh, you know, we finally are able to afford that new kitchen. You're not going to be able to afford that new kitchen, right, because that new kitchen is going to make you, you know, elevate your home, you know, up to areas that are just impossible for you.
In closing, Ray, where do you see this going? Right now, the DEP, they proposed this rule a while ago, like in the summer.
It came out August 5th.
Okay. So what is the situation now?
They have 1 year to adopt the rule. So they have until August 5th of now 2025 to adopt or not adopt the rule.
Right.
They could also, if they want, make changes to the rule and in a sense come back out with a new rule, and they still have time to do that if they want before this administration, you know, ends. The comment period is closed. You know, we submitted comments. You know, we know that they received thousands, you know, of comments on this rule, and right now we're all waiting to see what DEP is going to do. We're having conversations with them, with other decision makers, to try to let them understand what the real impacts of this rule are and how can we address the very real concerns of sea level rise in a manner that's not going to upend our economic growth and destroy our shore community living.
Well, Ray, you've done an outstanding job on this. You've been there since the beginning. We know you'll be there at the end, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, and thank you for joining us on NJBI is Minding Your Business. We'll see you next time.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly dreaming left its seeds while I was sleeping.
For great networking and educational opportunities, check out njbia.org/events.